Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and also all the participants in this video. My name is Dicky Irsyadul Fikri with the student numbers A1, B21, 80, and 45. In this video, I would like to deliver my thesis proposal entitled Student Speaking Problems in the National University Debate Championship or NUDC competition at Jambi University. But first of all, I would like to thank my supervisor, Mr. Dr. Raden Muhammad Ali, and also Ma'am Dr. Maspiro Rodney, who has helped the preparation of this thesis, and also the honorable examiner, Mr. Robi Soma SPD MPD, and also Ma'am Dr. Lely Handayan in this session. We go into the presentation. A thesis proposal, student speaking problems in the National University Debate Championship or NUDC competition at Jambi University. Next. So the background of the research, the language has four main language skills, namely writing, listening, reading, and speaking. In this research, the researcher wants to know more about the speaking, mostly about the speaking problems. So language is a system that is used as a medium in expressing the intent or purpose of communicating between speakers and interlocutors, where the main function of the language is an interaction between people and also for communication tool. Everybody know that English is an international language that has been accepted all over the countries, by all countries in the whole world. So the function of English is mostly for doing business and also for other activities for the governments around the world. And then English is also used in the academic context or non-academic context. And then as language that is used globally, both in academic and non-academic context, English is certainly still has a problem, especially in the speaking section. Jack Richards in 2008 suggests that mastery of speaking skills in English is a priority for many second or foreign language learners. As a result, learners often evaluate their success in language learning as well as the effectiveness of their English course based on how much they understand the English language, including the grammatical, pronunciation, fluency, and vocabulary. So the pronunciation, grammar, and also vocabulary or fluency or comprehension, and also the content, it applies in the conversation or any other speaking activities such as speech. But in this research, the main focus is about the debate competition. In this case, is debate as a competition. One of the used example in the academic context is already stated, that is a debate. Debate is a speaking situation in which opposing point of views presented and debated. They've involved in 2000. So in the context of debate, the arguments presented both parties must be indeed clear and easy to understand, and also in order to win that debate based on the argument being presented. So the phenomenon of students' inability to use spoken language in full English is quite similar to a research conducted by Hendriansha in 2012. He found out that most problems that students happen in the students is mostly about lack of vocabulary, and also the shyness, and also about no willingness to speak or telling thoughts or feelings or opinions into classrooms or to the interlocutors. So this is quite similar to the thesis conducted by Rahayu in 2015, that most speaking problems found out by her is that most students really struggling in order to use English as a media to convey their thoughts or feelings, because English is certainly not the first language of the EFL students. So they they quite often mix their language that could be a language problem. So based on the research that has been mentioned, it can be concluded that the problems in student speaking mostly influenced by not only from the student themselves, but also from the environmental factors. For example, which leads them to anxiety, especially for the FL students, which do not use English most often from the uh, English speakers, native English speakers. Next. Next. So NUDC is an English debate competition where Unja is one of the participants who is always present and sends delegates for the national level event. But unfortunately, until now, there has been no delegation from Unja who has been able to penetrate the national level as a winner. Therefore, the researcher wanted to find out if there is a problem with that with the participant that prevent them to become the winner delegates in that event. So from formulation of the research question is based on the problem stated previously. The formulation of this research is that what are the speaking problems and also how do they overcome their speaking problems. Next. So the objective of this research is that to investigate the student speaking problems and how the students overcome the problems that occur during the National University Debate Championship at Jambi University. Next. The limitation of this research is that only for the students who have participated in the NUDC program at least once, and they are from the batch 2020, and they are the students that majoring in FQ. Next. The significance of the study. The researcher hopes that this research will give insight to the students and also lecturers. The students will recognize the problem and improve their ability in using English, while the lecturers find a solution based on the problems that will be encountered. Next. So we go to the literature review. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the function of speaking, the types of speaking, and also the problems in speaking and its factors. And then we talk about how learner strategies in overcoming their speaking problems. And then in this chapter, we also talk about the debate, what the debate is, and also the NUDC, and also what is the NUDC talks about. Next. The previous studies. So in the previous studies, there are 4 main studies that going to be used from as the base of this research. And then the first study is conducted by Hendriansha in 2012, found out that there are mostly about there are 12 kinds of difficulties faced by the students in speaking. The most of the problem is that they lack of vocabulary, and also they have no confidence enough to speak, and also they are not used to use English in order to deliver thoughts and feelings or opinions. The second study was done by Tuan and Mai in 2015. They found out that the 81% of the students believe that the topic they're going to discuss is the main problems that they have, the speaking problems. And also almost half of the participants believe that the motivation to speak can also affect their performance. And then 27% of the students believe that small preparation time can affect the ability to speak English or target language. And then the third research was done by Winanti that is published in 2020. She found out that many main problems in the speaking areas is mostly about the vocabulary, grammar, and also pronunciation. The last studies done by Chandraloka and Rosdiana in 2019, they found out that the causes of the problems faced by students mostly about the vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, and also the fluency, but also they have the reason why they have do that. For example, the shyness, anxiety, confusion, and also lack of confidence. So based on the research, based on the studies mentioned above, there are many differences in the approach in using the research. They have mostly qualitative and quantitative research, but researchers categorize them and re-examines the data that has been analyzed using member checking. The classification of the analyzed data, as mentioned in the 4 previous studies, also in line with the studies. And then we go to the next page. So we go to the research design. The design of this research will be using qualitative method, and the researcher will use descriptive qualitative as an approach, since this research is designed to obtain information about the current status phenomenon, and will going to determine the nature of situation as it will exist of time of study. According to Creswell in 2012, qualitative research is means for exploring and understanding the meaning individuals or groups ascribe to a social problem. Creswell defines a case study as an in-depth exploration of bounded system, for example, an activity, event, process, or individuals based on extensive data collections. This type of study will be used if the problem to be studied relates to developing an in-depth understanding of a case or bounded system. Research site and access. This research will take place at Jambi University, especially in the FKIP area, with a permission from the head of department, of the English department. And then the participant of this research is that the researcher will use the students of batch 2020 of the English department, and the researcher will use the purposive sampling technique, which purposive sampling or judgment sampling is an intended choice of participant regarding the criteria decided. So the participant of this research will be the students of batch 2020 of English departments, when then the researcher will ask about 9 students that have joined the NUDC competition at least once. And then into the data collections, the types of data is mostly about the verbal statement. So if there's a problem occur, it could be written statements. So the data collection technique is using semi-structured interview, and the research instrument will using the interview. The techniques of data collection is that to obtain information in data using this in this research, the research will be carried out after NUDC competition has been held. So the researcher will contact the participant directly to be able to conduct interviews, or using third parties such as WhatsApp or the Yale call. All the interview will be recorded, and the language that will be used in this interview mostly using English or some Indonesian if there is some problem required to use to it. Interviews will be conducted once. However, the information that this researcher wants to dig up, there has not been bright spot. Interviews will be conducted again if the response given by the participant is not sufficient, in the hope that they can meet the criteria desired by the researcher. In the technique of data analysis by Creswell in 2012, the researcher will conduct the interview to the participant and transcribe the interview result. And then the researcher will identify the data by reading through the transcript. In the identification progress, the researcher will filter the necessary and unnecessary data or response which will not relate to this research. The fourth one is the researcher will code the data. And then The fifth one is the researcher will generate the theme based on the collected codes. The sixth is that the researcher will analyze the themes. The seventh is that the researcher reported the finding into by narrative discussion. The eighth, the last one, is that the researcher will interpret the whole data by reviewing the major findings. And then the trustworthiness is by Lincoln and Guba in 1985. After transcribing and summarizing the data collection during the researcher will do the member checking to confirm the data to the participant of what they have responded in the interview. And then member check interview is about any response that have been given to the participant will improve the quality of answers given to the researcher. And then research bias. To avoid research bias in research, the researcher will ask general questions before specific, unaided before aided, and positive before negative, with the hope to minimize annihilate the research bias. I think that's all. Next page. I think that's all that about this thesis proposal. I have with the hope that the examiner understand about my presentation. I think that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.